What up, everybody? It's the most original YouTuber on YouTube, and today I thought I'd let you in on a little event that happened in my life, and it was the first time that I ever did cannabis, I think. So the first time I ever got high was my second time, I think. I know that doesn't really make sense, but I'll explain. As I was a kid, I was pretty curious about all the different kind of drugs. I was just very interested in the alternate state of mind. Weed was obviously the most available and the least dangerous, as far as a 14-year-old could imagine what danger in drugs would be. But I mean, I was curious about LSD, but I took a health class in my freshman year, and in that health class we watched a video where it was a girl who was high off of LSD, and she thought that there was water in her swimming pool and it was just completely empty, so she jumped in and she got like a concussion and died from it or something. So that kind of scared me away from the hallucinogenic drugs out there, and obviously weed was still the most available. So in my freshman year, I had kind of these friends. I don't know if I would really consider them friends, but we were friendly and we were acquaintances. So they were huge potheads. They were like the potheads of the school. Very, very mixed group. It was like a black guy, a Mexican, and a Jewish guy. But they were all super cool, and they knew that I wanted to try cannabis. And obviously I was very inexperienced, not just in the drug itself, but in the lingo as well. So I offered them, okay, I'll give you $10 for a joint, which is like the weirdest request. And so they kind of look at each other and they're like, okay. So after school, me and these other guys were hopping into their car. I don't actually remember how they were able to drive their freshman year, but we hopped into their car. But on our way through the parking lot, I just hear them giggling, like constantly giggling to each other. And I'm still this stupid little freshman, and I don't know what's going on. So I just think that they're like happy or something, but they keep on like looking at each other. And one of the guys said, "Hey dude, I'll sell you some weed," which at that point kind of threw me off because he never wanted to sell me anything. Nobody wanted to sell me anything for whatever reason, but these guys were just giggling to each other and all of a sudden have apparently turned this new leaf towards me. But anyways, so we get into his car and we're driving to his house, and it's just so fucking ghetto. The apartment that he lived in, it just had that vibe where it's like some elderly woman is just gonna come outside with like her bathrobes on and just start screaming at you. But we go into his house and we're passing the dog, who is barking a little bit towards everyone, just, you know, I guess it's standard. And we go into his room and he pulls a sock from out of his bed. He pulls a fucking sock out, and then there's like this pill jar, like the little prescription pill containers, and inside there's like this like brown grassy thing inside the pill. Like it's like in a plastic bag that like it's like in plastic wrap. It's not even like in a bag. It's like plastic wrap that's been like twisted around several times. And he pulls it out and he starts rolling the joint and whatever, and everybody is there just like watching it all happen. Afterwards he just gives it to me, and then as I'm leaving, like the dog just kind of barks at me a little bit again, and he makes it a point where he's like, "Oh dude, look, the dog is barking at you because of the dank." And that's pretty much my number one reason why I don't think this was real. So I just came back from the football game that I was playing in the band. Of course, I am not a football player. That would actually make me attractive. And it was like a couple hours long, so I was just ready to come home and relax. So I come home and my mom's not there, and it's just my dad and me. So I wait for my dad to go to sleep, and then I decide, all right, it's time to spark it, dude. And I am just this absolute retard because for whatever reason, my 15-year-old little brain does not think of the possibility of my dad just like waking up, or just have not actually fallen asleep. He just, went to bed, and he coming out of his room and then just smelling the smelly smell. Because my original idea was to just like go outside and do it, which would have been stupid. I didn't want to risk that because if somebody caught me, like if a neighbor caught me, I mean, it was like super dark out, but if a neighbor caught me or just they called the police or something, then I would absolutely be screwed. And I was afraid that the smell might waft into his bedroom or something like that. Because I don't know, I was afraid of the wind and whatever. But so me being this absolute genius, I decide to go into my basement, into my garage, and decide to smoke it there. Not even 5 minutes later, and I'm already done smoking it. So I'm really concerned about the smell because, I mean, it's just in the garage, so it could obviously just waft into my dad's room. So it's obviously super bad in the garage, and I opened the door from the garage into the same floor, the room in the same floor, and it's still super strong. And I'm getting a little nervous. I thought that, you know, this door, which was like airtight, it's pretty sealed, would keep the smell out, and it didn't. So I opened the door, and it's still super bad. I go up one flight of stairs, and it's still pretty bad. And then I go up the next flight of stairs and I don't smell anything. And I feel so great and so happy that I'm completely in the clear. And I take off all of my clothes. I take a shower, you know, just to make sure that the smell is just completely gone. And I feel basically nothing that whole night. So I go to bed that night feeling pretty disappointed that I may have even gotten scammed because of how brown it was, and it didn't really smell like weed. It had a very strong smell, but it didn't really smell like weed. I haven't really smelled weed before this, but it smelled a little different, aside from like somebody stupid enough to smoke it in like a football stadium's bathroom, and then it just reeks everywhere. But this isn't smelling quite the same, and the fact that they were so sketchy when we were walking to his car and when I left, that I was definitely feeling a little doubtful of the whole situation, but you know, whatever. The top floor does not smell, so I am in the clear. I wake up and there is like nobody in the house. It's my dad had left to do something, I guess to go to work or something. And so, you know, I'm waking up and I go downstairs and I go into the kitchen, and then that's where I see it. The fucking roach is on the floor next to the trash can where I threw it away. Apparently, in my stress of wondering whether or not I would be caught, I forgot to flush it down the toilet. I don't know why I didn't, but I decided to I guess throw it away into the main trash can or something, which was the stupidest idea ever, and I don't even think that I remembered doing it. So it meant that my dad fished through the trash can just to find the roach, and then he just put it on the floor, or he just like left it on the floor and then left for a while. He actually never really even mentioned it. Even now, he hasn't ever said anything about it or about drugs in general. So I don't know if he exactly knew what was going on, or if he didn't care, or like what happened, because I feel like he would have been pretty serious about this. But my dad can be kind of a non-confrontational kind of guy. He doesn't like stress a lot of the times, and so when he has to deal with certain things, he just doesn't deal with them. So that may have been the reason why. But looking back on the whole situation, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what they gave me, and it wasn't weed. It was this stuff from this website called internationaloddities.com. Don't go there, but basically they sell fake weed. It's like, I don't even know what it is. I think it's like some sort of herb mix that is obviously just like a placebo. It's not like K2 or any of the synthetic drugs. I'm 99% sure it's just random herbs, or it may even be like tobacco, like flavored tobacco or something like that. That was probably why they were pretty happy to just get rid of it and sell it to me, was because they probably didn't want anything to do with it, because they probably just bought it because they were curious and they just didn't want it anymore. So that's what I mean when I said smoking weed for the first time, maybe, because I still don't know what I inhaled that night. But the first time I ever got high, like for sure, this was in fact cannabis. Was a very stupid. It's kind of a boring story, but basically, it was when I was a junior. I knew some more potheads who weren't. Again, people just didn't want to sell me anything, but they decided because it was like the two biggest potheads in the entire class. Like the teacher knew that they were potheads. They talked about weed a lot. They joked about it a lot. We all, oh my God, I actually feel really bad now. We all got assigned a project, right? And she let us pick who our partners were. So it was like me and my friend and this super big pothead who was a freshman, because there were a lot of freshmen who joined junior classes because they took 2 years in middle school. So our group was just 2 juniors and a freshman. 2 of the 3 were super big potheads. And so on, I think it was a Saturday, we decided to all meet up and work on this project. And instead, we all smoked weed in the basement of my friend's, the junior guy, in his house. And it was just very predictable what happened. I just sat on like this enormous beanbag chair that he had, and I just sort of like laid there for like 4 or 5 hours or something like that. It literally felt like it was an hour, but I looked at the clock, it's like, holy shit, it's been like 6 hours and we haven't even like started on this project. But nothing really noteworthy happened during this time. It was just, oh, I got high for the first time. Unfortunately, I basically had to pull all of the work for the video. Like, me and my friend had to actually ask the teacher for like an extension. Like the freshmen in our group didn't care at all that we kind of, we didn't fuck the teacher over, but you know, like we weren't being responsible, and so we felt a little bit guilty about that. But this freshman guy didn't care at all, and so me and my friend tried to work on a video, but my friend just kind of flaked out again. So I just made the video again, even with the extension that I got. And again, my teacher knew who the kind of people were in my group, so I know in her head she was thinking, oh, they just got high and didn't work on their project. And that's exactly what happened. And I feel really bad for doing that, but yeah, so I just basically did the whole project on my own, and I eventually got marked down for it, but I guess I deserved it. So if you're wondering whether I smoke weed now, I don't. I haven't smoked weed in like 3 years. And the biggest reason for this was because the last time that I smoked, it was during my senior year, and it was with my friend, completely different friend. We had like a period in between classes because we had to travel to a different school, and so we just had like an hour of free time or something. And so we thought, oh, perfect time. And I just remember like the first time I ever got high was I just took like one hit. I just took a one hitter, and that was it. And I was gone like for that entire like 5 hours. But this time around, I took at least 5, maybe like 6 or 7 or so, and I was completely out of it. Like it got to the point where it actually scared me. Like, I started noticing that a lot of my thoughts weren't really my own, or they didn't feel like they were my own, and they just came at random, and I couldn't stop laughing, which sounds like a really like fun time. But when there's nothing to laugh at and it just feels like your body is convulsing, not exactly the funnest time around. But also one day, me and my friend, the same friend, we went to the gym a lot together our senior year. Right when I left his car, like a couple of days after we smoked, I said to him something like, oh yeah, my short-term memory is like really fucked lately. Like it's really weird how short my short-term memory is. Like it's really bad. In my head, I was thinking, oh, it's because I smoked weed. I guarantee you it's because I smoked weed. Like, it seems like directly related because it only started happening after I started smoking weed. But I didn't want to say that to him out loud because I know that he really enjoyed smoking weed, and so I didn't want to impede on his hobby. But without even saying anything, like without any hesitation at all, he just said, oh yeah, weed'll do that to you. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wait, that's something that happens? And the fact that he wasn't like reluctant at all was like the final step into me saying, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. Because, I mean, even now, I feel like my short-term memory wasn't as good as it was before. So that's why I don't really do it anymore. As a recreational thing, I'm going to have to give it a solid 6 out of 10. Solid 6 out of 10. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.
You did drugs. You betrayed me. I can't believe you did drugs.